Now, in the last part of this lecture, we'll talk about the financial check on people's consumption. Well, the ancient sages created this system of rights to serve the people. And sometimes, very interestingly, they serve some very basic yet extremely useful functions. So apart from the social and ethical reasons, the system of rights also acts as a simple financial check on consumers' disposable income. Now, to put it simply, do not spend more than you have. In the chapter of summary of the rights of propriety, the Book of Rights says, goods and wealth are not to be expected from the poor in their discharge of rules of propriety, nor the display of sinews and strength from the old. So this means that despite of the complexity and stringency of rights, the society does not expect the poor or the weak to follow strictly the spending rule. For instance, it's perfectly fine for a poor person not to present gift when visiting friend. Although, presenting gift is part of the social rights, isn't it? But under this special circumstance, it is not treated as inadequate or impolite. The doctrine of the mean raises this simple concept to a slightly higher level, and it summarizes as follows. It says, the superior man does what is proper to the situation in which he is. He does not desire to go beyond this. In a position of wealth and honor, he does what is proper to the position of wealth and honor. In a poor and low position, he does what is proper to a low and poor position. Situated among barbarous tribes, he does what is proper to a situation among barbarous tribes. In a situation of sorrow and difficulty, he does what is proper to a position of sorrow and difficulty. The superior man can find himself in no situation in which he is not himself. Well, this provides a very good guidance on consumption. For example, there are, a protocol standard for state visits of head of state and government, including, greeting upon arrival, a review of a military guard of honor, exchange of gift, and so on, right? So many countries also maintain guest houses that are used for state visits. And there are also standards for state dinners, dress code, security, etc. People in honorable positions must abide by these rules. In other words, they must make such consumptions. These consumptions are not wasteful because they have a series of diplomatic functions and show respect and care. On a civilian level, as a company's CEO, for example, attending an industry conference, it is necessary to put on a proper suit. But it's not just for covering the body, but to a certain degree, it represents the professionalism of the person and a level of attention. But when we are made redundant by our company and in between jobs, it is appropriate for us to cut down living expense for a while. When a person is mourning for the death of his parents, he will be in a state of sorrow, and in some culture, he will stop all entertainment and live a very simple life for a period of time. So these are the examples of doing things that fit the time, fit the condition, and also personal situation. So from a consumption perspective, the sages are essentially telling us, don't spend more than you have. Well, you might think, well, that's it. This sounds very much like common sense, doesn't it? And we would have expected, something more complicated, more advanced from the sages. Well, it is common sense indeed, but sometimes it is simply difficult to do. I guess you're all familiar with something called credit card, right? And if not, you may be familiar with the concept called mortgage. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, these financial innovations are great in that they give people a chance to live a better life, live in a better house by spreading the payment over a lifetime. But it becomes problematic when it serves beyond its original intention and function as a tool to feed endless desire and greed. When we observe human wants, we find that those who have the means will spend more than what is proper for them, and those without the means will spend more than they can bear. It is so natural that people do it without realizing. And I know somebody who lives as a poor PhD student. He has limited income by taking up part-time teaching jobs, and there isn't much left after paying for his rent and basic living expenses. However, he's willing to purchase a Mercedes by taking out a bank loan. Well, personally, I don't think he needs a Mercedes right now, at least not a car that he has to buy with huge financing, right? I think a lower-class car would be sufficient for his use. Well, sometimes we don't buy things because we need it. We buy them because we want them. Well, of course, if we're financially capable, we will only need to think about the ethical part of the consumption. But if the consumption would likely make us financially distressed, then we need to be content with where we are and do not go beyond our limit. It is a simple recommendation for the consumers indeed, but on the other side of the coin, the same recommendation goes to the sellers. For example, as I said before, many victims of the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis took out multiple mortgages that were multiple of their discounted future net worth. And the mortgage lenders never reminded these people about the simple mathematics. So the system of rights is nothing more than common sense indeed, but we need it so much because we don't know common sense. We put too much trust into the imperfect financial models, and before we know it, we already allow them to take over common sense and dictate our otherwise conscious action. I guess you may have heard of drivers making a U-turn into a lake, or running straight into a house, or getting stuck in a tree by following the GPS. Well, I guess you get the idea. Now, as funny as it may sound, the desire of spending more than one's ability has some dire consequences. It will lead to social disorder, bribery, corruptions, and all kinds of criminal activities. Furthermore, even if a person spends within his limit, he may still feel unsatisfied with his condition and may suffer. This is because people use material consumption and money as the only benchmark of happiness. Now, if this is the case, then there is no way that anyone can become truly happy. And we call that an economic failure. So the way to solve this problem is to gradually redirect focus of the people from monetary pleasure to the attention to virtue. But this applies to both the rich and poor. In the Book of Rights, it says, when the rich and noble know to love propriety, they do not become proud nor dissolute. When the poor and mean know to love propriety, their minds do not become cowardly. So this is the way to achieve true happiness. Now, because happiness is, after all, the ultimate aim of economic development, it surely deserves more detailed discussion. This is our focus of the next lecture. And so in the next lecture, we'll explore the ancient classics and discuss the way to achieve happiness for both the rich and the poor. Thank you.